as I was reading her book, great plane book, right? While I was on my plane, my opinion of mailers has never been great. And I know I've said that before, right? Because I'd spend like $4,000 and get a client out of it. And so she had strategy, and that's the one thing that I think I was always missing in the mailing is strategy. And then she also has some strategies where you don't have to mass mail to thousands and thousands of people to be able to make progress. So, some of your like door knocking, people talk about hanging flyers, that sort of thing. You can apply this to that as well. So it doesn't have to cost you money. It doesn't have to be something you pay to mail until you can get to that point where, sure, you can afford it, and then you pay to mail. So that was a really good thing in the book as well. So I'm excited to have her on so she can give us a little bit of an overview. And this is the way that she's built her business. This is what has worked for her. And, that goes to say, too, there's not one blanket way to build your business. And everybody, you may find a different niche. Like for her, this worked. Me, mailers, I'm like, right? Like I'd rather do open houses and do something else. So whatever is going to work for you, and then also what resonates for the people that are in your area. Because depending on, I was talking to one of the guys one day in training, and he was like, yeah, if you try to call somebody here, if it's a number they don't recognize, they just won't answer it. And he was in like, where was he? I don't remember. He was in a highly densely populated area, right? And he was like, yeah, you can't just call people. So he uses the auto phone call or the text messaging in order to try to get a response. That works for his area. My area, you call and everybody picks up. That's just, so it's easy for me to call. So you've got to take these things and find what works for you, and then, apply them, adjust them and apply them for what works for you. And if it doesn't work, if you're trying something and it doesn't work, then again, while we always talk about analyzing, right? At the end of the week, at the end of the day, analyze what you did and did it work, or do you need to do something different? Or after trying something for a month and you're not making progress, then you probably need to do something different if you're not making progress in a month. You don't want to sit there for 1 to 2 to 3 months and then you're frustrated and you're not making money, and then, right, and then you quit, or you have to go get a different job because you're not making progress. So you should be making progress in a month's time with whatever it is that you're doing, no matter how long you've had your license. If you kick it into gear and you're going through and trying some of these methods, you should be making progress in that period of time. You really should. Another thing I'm going to share with you. I know I put this on Facebook, but I haven't been really great on being consistent on Facebook lately, because I don't think y'all should waste your time on Facebook all the time. So I don't either. Anyway, new covers. So this is the new, you can see this is the new material for the cover for the planners, if you've got the planner. And so the front cover is going to be clear, but it's like a plasticky vinyl, doesn't break, doesn't split, nothing. It's exactly what I wanted. It's nice and hard. So this is going to be the front cover. And then this gray will be the back cover for the first half of the year. And then the second half of the year, I'm going to do it. We're going to go for yellow for the back cover. Getting crazy. Matches Colleen today. Yep, it matches Colleen today. So we'll have clear for the front and then yellow for the back. So, and then I also recognized that on the buyer sheet, I did not leave a space or put a space for price range. I'm like, duh. I was filling one out yesterday when I had a new buyer call me, and I was like, okay, what's your price range? And I didn't have a spot for that. So I'm making a change to that, and we'll add price range in there. And then there was something on the listing sheet that I noticed as well, that I honestly still don't remember what I texted the girl about it, my designer. Anyway, I am going to add something else to the seller sheet. Just don't remember what it is. So anyway, small little tweaks as we go along. And then I'm looking to, if you have a planner that you like, the one thing every planner is missing, every planner, no matter what your daily looks like, every planner is missing your buyer and seller sheets. That doesn't exist anywhere. And so I am going to be making a separate just buyer and seller notebook. So if you don't like my layout for the planner, or you don't like it that thick, or you want a year at a time, or whatever your preference is, you can just buy the buyer and seller sheets. I'll probably put some notes in there as well. But yeah, just buyer and seller sheets will be in one notebook. So it gives people a little bit more option. Oh, thanks, Colleen. Yeah, because everybody's brain doesn't think the same way. So some people like a different layout. So does anybody, let's do a little Q&A for a second. Does anybody have a specific question that's just like in you that you wish you could ask for help with, or that you've asked for help and you're not getting the answer? It could be transaction specific or business related. Anybody want to put themselves out there? Raise your hands and ask a question today. Nobody has problems. You're all here because you're okay, Colleen.
Okay, I'm going to ask because this is more of a integrity, personal, like financial type thing. So I have a new client, and we went out and looked at houses last night, and they're young. They're pre-approved for 400, but they have zero money in saving. And so they want to take money out of their 401k. And that is like goes against all my, and I told her, and our girls are friends. We know each other. And I'm like, oh, I don't know. I'm like, you should really, talk about that more, because you get fined for that and, whatever. But how do you work with people that, how do you work through that part of it, I guess?
So I have had multiple clients that have taken money out of their 401k for their down payments. And some of them have paid it back, and so then they don't have a penalty if they pay it back within a certain amount of time. Sometimes you can lean against yourself, so you like borrow from yourself, and then when you pay back, you're kind of paying yourself back the interest. So that is a thing as well. You have to be very careful not to take a personal opinion and insert it into what choice they're making. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
we deal with people's finances. I mean, and we see it all over the board, right? We see people, we're like, man, stop buying crap. You're in debt. You need to knock it off, right? Or, I mean, we want to open our mouth and be like, here's a Dave Ramsey book for you. You need to figure your crap out.
I know.
Yeah. So, but that being said, home ownership and investing in something is like really hands down a really great investment. It really is. And so sometimes, however they can get there is how they have to get there. I will tell you my very first house that we got. I was 18 when I bought my first house, and my mom put this is not legal now, by the way, but the brokerage lent my mother or me the down payment money with her title for her car as collateral. So we got a personal loan from the broker, like from the company, for my down payment. Okay, that's not legal now. You can't do that. This was pre-crash. This is 1998, right? But anyway, that was just, and I was in panic mode. And I was like, oh my gosh, my mom's putting our car title up, and it was like, oh. But yet, once I invested and bought that home, and then we pay off that loan, and get the title back eventually. Once we did that, like I don't know, it was a slow part of the market, but I think when we sold that house, a few years later, we made like $25,000. Great investment, right? So sometimes, however you can get into it, you just got to get into it. And it's always that barrier of entry can be very hard if your state doesn't have down payment assistance programs. And all states are different. There's probably, I will find out from Idaho Housing. It's called Idaho Housing, but they service probably 7 different states with their down payment assistance programs. And they're amazing because people can come to closing, buy a house for 0.5% down. all the time. That's what we do all the time. So, but some states like Oregon, they don't have down payment assistance programs. So if you're going to go FHA, you're stuck with 3.5% out of your pocket, and people don't walk around with 3.5% extra dollars in their pocket. It's not common, especially when you're newer, like younger, and you're just trying to get a house. I would have more of a question for them of, are you sure you want a $400,000 payment? Like, is that where you want to be?
So that's, and actually that is like our base of housing around here. There's
well, then that's what they're stuck with. Yeah. Yep. So at least they're at the base. So
they make a lot of money. So they just spend it.
Yeah. And it's, I mean, so always remember, you're providing information to them, not opinion. So as long as it's fact and not opinion, and you can provide some information to them, that's what we're here to do, is to educate. And they may not know, so just make sure that we're educating. But my opinion of how to run finances is going to be different than my neighbor's opinion of how to run finances, right? We're all going to have different opinions. So break it on down, and let's just provide the facts and the data and the information, and then let them make an educated decision. We're just here to educate and help.
Yeah. So, thank you. And they make too much for down payment assistance. Looks like you
what? Oh, yeah. Yeah.
They make.
I'll find out about that too, what states that's in, because they have awesome programs. Okay. So our guest is here. Hello. You can go ahead and unmute. She's having internet.
Ladies, let me start by saying I am so sorry. I am on my phone right now, and I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, how can I make it up to those ladies right now that I'm late, like fashionably unacceptable late. And I'm German, so you have no idea how much it bothers me to be late to start with. Okay. But and I'm on my phone, so I hope it's going to work out. I have a help ticket in for my laptop at the office, and oh well. But hi, my name is Janine. It's so great to meet all of you.
Welcome. We're happy to have you however you show up, right? However you show up, just show up. We're happy to have you.
With pants today, so, I call that a win.
Yep, that's right. That is right. Well, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about how long you've been in real estate and a little bit about your journey.
All right, so I am a licensed and active agent in the Chicagoland market. I'm a mom of 2 boys, and I embarked on this whole real estate journey because, there was this promise of a flexible schedule, something like that, I think I remember. Yeah. And when I started, it was okay. I kind of did what most people do, dabbled here, dabbled there, tried this, tried that. And the biggest one that I, ran up against was my mom's schedule. So my business grew, everything was good, but those constraints, like they tightened, right? And I'm like, man, this is just somehow really, really hard. So what I did was essentially I was looking for help, coaching help. And a lot of the things that I found in my real estate business was, somebody telling me I had to make my real estate business work in a 9-to-5 schedule. Go make the calls, and make the calls not at 10 o'clock at night, because nobody wants to be called at 10 o'clock at night. Yet my mom's schedule said 10 o'clock at night is when my house was quiet. So anyhow, so there's a lot of that. My business grew. And one of the latest growth spurts was based on mailer marketing. So I think that's probably the biggest one that I get to share with you guys. So how many of you guys are moms? I'm curious. Hands go up. Yep. So you probably can relate how, a 20-minute, and dad, I'm sorry, and dad, yes.
And dad, you got Andrew.
I'm sorry, dad, and dad.
Mm-hmm.
But most of you can relate how that, phone conversation wouldn't go really well with a 20-minute tantrum happening in the background that is, like, oh, I'm sorry, this is my kid because he can't have the 3rd piece of chocolate, throwing himself on the ground right now while I'm trying to have a conversation with you. So mailers were kind of my salvation, and it's been great so far.
And how long have you been licensed?
So I got licensed in 2015, but did not start till 16, really.
Okay, awesome. And I'm going to tell you too, you guys, that's just a testament to 5 years. I mean, and there's been some people who have their license for a very long time and don't make that kind of progress. So a lot of making progress is that commitment to, I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to keep moving. So no matter what, like I said, if something isn't working, then you try something else. You reach out, you get the information, and then you just keep moving. Really important, because you can make progress and you can, make the money you want to make. So, all right. Well, so why don't you give us, I was just telling everybody a little bit. So when I was reading your book, the one thing, so I've never been a proponent of mailing ever, because when I've mailed, I'll mail, I'll spend like $2,000-$3,000 for mailing, and then I'll get one client. And I get people that see my name and my face and all that good stuff, but I get one client off of it. I'm like, okay, so I made like a $10,000 commission. I spent $3,000, fine, but that was a whole lot of work to find one client. So why do that? You had methods in here and strategy. I would say strategy is probably the biggest word that I would use to describe what you're teaching. Is if you don't have strategy, you're like me, where you're just throwing it out there on the table and then hoping something comes back, but I don't really have a strategy to what I'm doing. So that's a really awesome thing that you taught me with some strategy in there. But what would you like to share with us today?
Well, let's share the strategy part with everybody, I think, because it's a really like a short 3-step process, and it goes by your GPS, right? What is your goal? What's your G? What's your overall accomplishment you're trying to get? What's your P? Is your plan? How are you going to get there? And guys, I mean, there's so many different vehicles out there, right? I'm not saying real estate mailers are going to be the end all for every real estate agent. If you're the person that loves their phone conversations, like go follow, like Ricky Caruth and his cold calling calls. If you love social media, spending money on ads, and go follow Krista Mayshore, right? Like there is a vehicle out there that works for everybody. And it's a matter of finding the one that like Marie Kondo says, like brings you joy, right? Whatever brings you joy. For me, it's the mailers, because I get to connect and help people. And I really have a lot of fun designing them. So that's, on a side note, but it becomes fun. So what's your plan of how you're going to get there? And then you have your S, which is your steps to actually get all those things done. And Lisa already hinted on it when it comes to, from 5 years, from 0 to where I'm at now. It's those little tiny steps. And one of the analogies I bring, being a mom, so it applies for dad, you've seen it. Our kids don't start running just like this. They go, they fall, they get up, they do it again. They go, they fall, they get up, they do it again. And just like that, my business was built in the same print, like very primitive. If I tell people how I built my business, it's really primitive, but it works because it's just like one step in front of the other. So the entire book is kind of like a look in my brain. I'm a very systematic person. So it's like, okay, if I want to do this, what are the steps I have to take? And you just break it down into all those little micro buckets. I used to have an elephant, just an outline of an elephant hanging on my schedule or in front of my desk. And every time I was tackling a project, I would make a photocopy of this elephant outline, because how do you eat an elephant?
One bite at a
One
time.
bite. That's right. So I would just put in all the tasks I had to do. And again, Mom, I got an early childhood education background, so I will literally write everything in, and then I would color it in as I get to the next step. It's like that visual to keep me going to get this entire elephant filled, right? That's like my GPS. How do I get to the entire project? So that's, that's just a little bit of, if you enjoy coloring or you have your kids coloring, get your elephant out there, map it out while you color with them, right? Like get the quality time in and have some fun. But you need to be aware of how do you reach your goal. Your goal is not today, tomorrow. Your goal is going to be, here's my goal. Here is the plan, how I'm going to get there. And these are the little micro steps I have to take in order to obtain it. So, and most people are just not willing to sit down and be like, okay, what is everything I need to do? They just see the big goal, right? I want to be a top producer. Right. I want to make $100,000 a year.
Right.
I want to have a big real estate team.
Right.
But there's always a plan in the background. And, I keep going on and on with like comparison. It's like the tip of the iceberg, right? Everybody sees that like 1%, it's the tip, and all the work that's under there, most people don't see. So make your plan, get your steps, and then just be methodical and go through every little thing you need to do.
Awesome. So give us a little bit of the strategy of what I get. I mean, there's so much in the book, and there's multiple, right? There's multiple strategies, but what
Right.
do you think you can share with everybody today to give them a little bit of insight?
So there's actually a lot of like stuff in the book, but in overall, the book is divided into two components. So when you look at your mail piece, most people look at your mail piece and you're like, oh, it's a mailer, right? It's like something you send out. Your mail piece is actually divided into two different kinds of mailers. You have your lead generation mailer and you have your lead nurture mailer. One obviously is there to generate new clients, goes to a cold market that doesn't know you much. The other one, a lead nurture mailer, is going to a warm market. So people that already have heard of you, they know what you do for a living, or even your past clients. Okay, so those are two very different kinds of mailers that you can differentiate by. I'll tell you a little story. I talked to one of our agents in our office, and he said, I've been mailing to my farm for about a year and a half with this campaign that our office has set up, which is a complete lead nurture campaign. And he got frustrated because he wasn't generating any leads. 18 months of mailing because he used the wrong campaign.
Right.
So, you know, that's where my mission comes in, where I feel really, really bad when people waste money. Like, you guys work hard for your money. Commission isn't free. I know everybody thinks we make way too much, but we work our asses off. So it's really important when we spend the money on marketing ourselves, it's not money down the drain. And I'm by nature a very, very frugal person. So when I spend money, I spend it in the most cost-effective way possible. So mailers, for example, you're looking at about 36 cents an address for me to reach somebody. So for me to get actually into their mailbox, print and stamps, you're looking at, well, actually it went up. I'll take that back. You're probably at 38 cents now. But from a cost perspective, not only am I going to be able to generate a lead, I'm also building brand awareness for me, myself in the process. So lead generation or lead nurture, which one do you guys want to talk about?
Let's talk about the generation, because that was one thing that like kind of blew my mind when I started reading. I was like, wait a minute. I have always, like, the mailers I've sent out, they do fall into that lead nurture category, but there was no action item for the client to take at all. I thought that there was an action item, like, here, call me, right? But that's not an actual action item. And that's one thing I've learned in, you apply that to like Facebook marketing, Instagram marketing, right? Any of your online marketing is to get some sort of response or to get someone to take an action. But I had never thought of that or applied that to mailing and taking an action when mailing, ever.
Right. So let's see, where do we start in the best way possible? When it comes to action, let's start with action. There's actually, I differentiate between three types of objectives that you have when it comes to mailer. And they go from like easy, medium to hard. So let's start out with the hardest objective that you can put on a mailer.
Okay.
Call me. Call me is your hardest objective because picking up the phone for most people is not a desirable task. Most people do not want to pick up the phone and just call you. The other item is, when are they going through the mail? Is it going to be too late to call you? Is it going to be too early to call you? Are they going to be in a rush right now to get something done before they pick the mail piece up and then it's 11 o'clock at night? They're not going to call you. So it's really the hardest objective is to get a phone call. It is really, really hard to get that done. You can set an appointment, but how many of you guys love to just go into an office without even having met this person, right? It's just a hard ask. So what could you do instead that might be a little bit easier on the mailers? The second objective that I generally see is event registrations. So if you have event registrations, that's normally a little bit easier to do, people to sign up for something. One of the ways I use it is I run a neighborhood-wide garage sale. People are signing up. I built my internal like neighborhood email list like this. Like it grows every single year. I have the garage sale with new people. And that garage sale is a completely different topic in itself. But it is something that generates 6 figures in income for me just by connecting people, you know, for decluttering, because when do you declutter? Just before you're gonna sell your house, most often, right? But getting those registrations with this mailer is a lot easier because I'm not asking them like, hey, give me your info. I want to help you buy or sell a house. Now you can, right now I'm starting to test a buyer workshop to see how, you know, how it's going to convert on mailers, to just see if I can get registrations through direct mail to my online buyer presentation. We'll see how that's going to work. The principle is the same, but getting registrations, I mean, you can do things like, hey, please register and we'll let you know when our next coat drive is, right? Tie it into your community to causes that they want to know about. Real estate in itself is just really a big, giant networking event, right? What's important to them? Let's find this, let's connect. And then just from there, build that relationship, like dating kind of. So I'm dating my entire geographic farm, if you want.
Okay.
But that relationship building is really key when it comes to a lot of those items. And now the easiest one is, for me, in my opinion, lead generation. And lead generation, you have something that you give them, an action, and that action needs to be something that they can do right that second. So one of the biggest, things I suggest to all agents, you need to have an instant home evaluation. But Janine, they're not accurate. I know that. They're not there to be accurate. They're there to generate a lead. Okay. When I say instant, it literally needs them to plug in an address and it's going to spit back an email to them saying, here is your home value report. And it just shows them what's been going on in the neighborhood. Now you might say, but I don't like the value that they're putting on there. It's nothing better than this estimate. Well, sure thing, it's not. It's your job to make sure they're fully aware of that. So one of the things that I do, for example, the minute somebody requests a CMA from me, is I send them a handwritten note and I just say, hey, thanks so much for checking on your home value. Please know that there's so many custom upgrades that were done with so many different houses that the value might not quite accurate. If you have any questions or you're wondering about anything, I'm here, to help you answer those questions. So right off the bat, I'm telling them whatever value you get, that's not because I say so. For me to give you a value, we need to talk. Right?
What program do you use to kick back that value?
So personally, I use Cloud CMA. I'm a big fan of Cloud CMA, just from ease of use.
So you are receiving the email. So the process is you're receiving the email and then you are going in, doing the CMA and kicking it back to them.
No. They're going to a website, and in that website, they're going to enter their address, and then it says, hey, we have your report. It's ready. Where do you want me to send it? And then they enter their email and their name, and then they click submit. And then the system will automatically go and find comms that are in their neighborhood that have sold in the last 6 months.
Okay.
And the characteristics are typically pulled out of the tax records, as far as I know. That's why I'm saying you can't rely on those to be super accurate, because it's an algorithm. And just like with anything with algorithms, it's just not accurate. If you are working in more of a cookie cutter neighborhood, it'll be easier. If you are working in a market with a lot of custom homes, it's going to be a lot harder.
Well, and with the market, I mean, we talked about this a few weeks back, a month and a half back, is that with the prices going up so quickly and now they're kind of dropping quickly in some areas, there's not accuracy in those anyway, which is good because that gives us a job, right? If there was too much accuracy in automated values, then we would be out of job. So.
Right. So Cloud CMA is just one of them that can be used. There is listings to leads. So that's another one. And I believe HomeBot is another one that was out there lately. Again, just Googling, different ones. There's not one size fits all. I mean, you can check out different systems, just like a CRM. you can overanalyze and over research. At that point, you will have wasted 2 or 3 weeks looking for things that you could have generated leads already. Okay, so it's definitely important that you find some main criteria and then just go for it. And they're not super expensive. I don't know what Cloud CMA is right now, but
some of the MLSs, it's included with the MLS. I know with my MLS, it's included.
Yeah, a lot of people should check their board first. See, you have a lot of people saying it's included. Like, you guys have free lead generation. Like, I'm gonna share the video with you afterwards if you want, if you guys are not sure how to set it up. I've done a training video on it.
Yep.
So see it as my thank you gift for, I'm sorry I was late, but I'm gonna show you where to find that link.
Okay.
And then go and get it set up, because it is the best. Like, I mean, I got a couple mailers on it. Those are all the same. I'll show you a couple mailers, but that's really all it says is go to, here's one. I don't know if you guys can see that here.
Yeah.
Wondering what your home is worth, right there. And then it shows my website. So they just go there, and then it goes to Cloud CMA. So here's another one that I've done. Okay, that was for a letter, for example.
Are you zapping that into, are you using Zapier in this process at all?
No, not on this one, because I like to kind of see where the lead is coming from. I could fully automate it, but I have my lead comes into my email, then I do see it. So this way I can respond to it. And if I get an email back, I can allocate it too. Okay. So if there was like hundreds of leads coming in, I'd love to have hundreds of leads coming in, but they're not coming, like there's not 100 of them daily. So I still sort through them. Sometimes I find repeat ones that are just clicking twice because they didn't get the link in their inbox because it went into their spam, right? So there's like certain things. So I started including a little snippet in my postcards just saying, hey, in case, you don't find it in your inbox, please check your spam. Some neighbors reported that they found it there. So this way, they can go back and have this personal in the mailbox touch saying, oh yeah, no, she did say she sent it. And if not, I tell them, go text me. I will send you the PDF link via text if that's what you want. And at that point, I would also have their phone number.
Gotcha. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, that would be good, because that was a question. How do you set it up? So if you have a link, we'll get that link at the end, and I can post it in the Facebook group for people to access as well. Okay.
Yep.
Awesome.
So, so that's generally the action button, right? Because that action they can take whenever they feel comfortable. And it is the most asked offer for us real estate agents is they're not calling and saying, hey, how should I decorate the home for the holidays so I can also sell it? Right. Well, I think that's a good topic. They just want to know, what's my home worth, right? So that's a big one. So if anybody sends mail, I typically say the first thing we're going to change is the call me going away and the here's your link going into the mail piece. That tweak alone is just amazing what results can happen.
Yeah, that's a huge difference. I did see on one of the cards, did you have advertisements from other, I saw like there was a law company.
Yes.
Do you have sponsors on there to help pay or offset the cost of your mailing?
Correct. So part of here, what I have in here, again, I mentioned my copy is already like very like, can you say I've been using it a lot?
Yep, well used.
But in here, what I have put in here is vendor help. So when I opened up saying, I'm a very frugal person, I mean, I'm a very cheap person. I don't like spending my money more than I have to. So one of the things that's in there is actually the vendors. You have so many vendors that are relying on you doing more business. I'm an attorney state. So for me, it is attorneys, just having them there. We have lenders, the title companies. You can have all those directly involved people. And you can then just ask them, hey, I want to do more business. I do more business. You do more business. So would you be interested in doing that one, right? You can also go beyond the typical, real estate vendors, and you can see, okay, who is there that has to do with maybe the maintenance of the home, power washing companies, window companies, landscapers, design architect, like anybody there that you would refer business to, stagers, right? Like there's so many different ones that you can get into it, and you can have more than one on there. You can have 2 or 3, as long as I know there's, regulations of they need to all have a certain space and all of that stuff in order to be compliant. I'm not here to talk to you about compliant. That's what your broker does based on wherever you are at, right? But you can just tie all those people in and say, hey, this is what we want to do. Would you be interested?
Awesome. And that helps everybody's costs go down. I mean, and I would say, you guys, your whole list of contractors, right, that I teach you in Elevate, go through your list of contractors. Those are your buddies. Those are your people that are going to want to advertise with you, right? You're a team. And so, yeah, reach out to those guys. You're going to have good response from people that you already know, that you already work with, that you're already trying to throw business. Team up with them. That'd be great.
Absolutely. So whatever brings the cost down, it just helps you massively reach more people. The other question I oftentimes get is like, who do I mail to? Who's my target? So I guess the other part that's kind of important to go over is your list. I differentiate lists just like I differentiate, the objectives and everything. But when it comes to lists, what kind of list can you use? So personally, I go by the routes for the Every Door direct mail service from the United States Postal Service. So it's not something that's only exclusively available to, special people. It is out there for the United States Postal Service. It's called EDDM, Every Door Direct Mail. And what it does is it essentially has your mail carrier has a route, right, that they go every single day. Same route, they don't go different places, same route every day, same houses every day. And what it does is it selects that route and say, hey, your route has 427 houses. And you can say, hey, this route looks like my ideal target is living there. I want to go and mail to that entire route. Because the sorting process is already kind of done, because it all goes into the same route, it's cheaper to mail it to them. This is why I think the cost right now for postage only is about 19 cents per address. Okay, that's your postage.
For the Every Door Direct.
Correct. That's your postage. Now compare that to your, the postcard, because you can actually get postcard stamps. I think they're currently 35 cents. And then obviously you have the regular letter, which are like 55.
50, yeah, they're 50 or 55,
yeah. So, between the 35 for postcards, and we're talking like little tiny postcards, and then letters being 55, you get a third of the cost for the Every Door direct mail. So the way you can save money on this one is just amazing.
And they're huge. Your Every Door direct can be, what is the size on it, Janine? They're big.
Whatever you want. I mean, there's a certain criteria on it, but you can have a mail piece that is like this, right? I mean, this one here, I have a normal size head, I would think. half a size of paper. So but that's my go-to. However, this one here is, think about the pizza mailer you guys get. This is also an Every Door direct mail piece.
And essentially what Every Door Direct is, you guys, is that you don't put names on them. There's no names, no addresses. You just give them all the mailing pieces with the route. It just, local, residential, poster cut, and they just stick one in every single box. So that's why it's so much less expensive, because they don't have to sort it. They just take the stack and stick one in every box. That's how it works. Which is interesting. So that is the method that I have used, but without strategy.
So
no action. No call to action.
No action. That's expensive then. So no action, that generally means expensive. So but that's one of the ways you can mail, and it's the most affordable. It is also the least targeted, because you have no say of who's actually getting the mail piece other than everybody of the 427 houses.
Right.
Now, what if you guys are in a market where there is, for example, oceanfront property? You want one side of the street. You don't want the other side of the street, right? So you can also go with a targeted list where you can then just go into like your tax records. You can ask your title company for a list, and you could just get that one side of the street. Now, being a targeted list is very, very expensive. I mean, when I say very, very expensive, it comes up to about 70 cents an address. So you're looking at your cost almost doubling from the other method. Again, you can tailor your message a little bit better. You can say, hey, here are the benefits of selling your oceanfront property now, which makes sense to them, as opposed to the people across the street that are saying, I don't have oceanfront.
Right.
So your messaging can be clearer. The clearer you are in messaging, the typical results get a little bit better, but it's more expensive. So just something to consider. And the next one, or the last one, is your sphere of influence. And the sphere of influence, list, that's really typically going on a lead nurture campaign. So that's really not lead generation. They're already in your database. They already know you. But you can get a lead nurture campaign sent to them where you are in their mailbox at least once a month. Anybody heard about those lifestyle magazines that they pitch to real estate agents, where you can send them a magazine, right? Heads are nodding. So I just talked to a couple agents that are currently signed up with them. And the magazine itself, I think for 100 of them, it's $4, I want to say it was. So the campaign itself, I mean, I get the, oh, I have a magazine. I mean, everybody has the same magazine, but it got your face on it. So, great. But the purpose of it, I mean, how many of you guys have stuff on your coffee table from your real estate agent looking at it? I mean, I know it looks pretty, but when it comes to marketing pieces, there's a big differentiator between marketing that is done business to business, because that magazine business is telling you as a real estate business should have that, which attracts you to it as a business owner, right? Same with your mailers. Your mailer companies that are out there, and I'm not going to knock any one of them, but the mailer companies that are out there, they are marketing to real estate agents, business to business. How many postcards do you see on their websites marketing $11.5 million postcard templates that you can get? I'm not selling $11.5 million properties. My average home looks very, very different from what they are having there. So they are marketing to you based on your dreams and desires, but you're not the lead. Yeah. You are not the lead. You are the other business. And, that's where the money really sometimes gets wasted. So always make sure that you're putting yourself in the shoes of the consumer. Would my lead, my consumer, like this postcard?
Yeah. And I think that goes to say with the magazine too, right? It's, there's no call to action. I mean, you're advertising yourself.
It's advertisement.
But how reachable does that make you look or feel? And the average person isn't going to feel comfortable. This is my opinion, but the average person like me, I wouldn't feel comfortable calling oh, the person's on the magazine. So that they're out of my league, right? They're out of reach. They're out of touch with who your demographic is for who you're actually selling to. So unless you're super crazy expensive $3-4 million houses consistently, that would be very hard to have a personal touch to that with a magazine with your face on it. Weird, right?
Right.
Yeah. What's a good mailer to your sphere? Sophia is asking.
So a good mailer to your sphere, and I think, let me see. I got a little basket full of mailer goodies. Right. So here's one that went out to the sphere, the Great Outdoors. And what it had on there was some really cool sites that they were able to go and see in the general area. So if I have my sphere and if I have people that I care for, they don't care what the house sold for, but they will keep this and saying, oh my gosh, I love to go on a hike. Let me keep this handy. There's so many different places where we can go kayaking and fishing. And again, know your target, right? I mean, if you have somebody that loves cooking, then yes, send those recipe mailers as a nurture campaign, not as a lead generation tool, right? Make them collectible. Tell them, hey, here is, send for Christmas, send your clients one of those accordion style folders and say, hey, for the next 12 months, keep an eye out as one of my special past clients. I want to send you 12 of my most original recipes that I use on certain holidays, and have them collected. If this is your client, that's valuable to them, right? Like I like to be outdoors, so that's kind of like the outdoor stuff. And the pumpkin farms, for example, are coming up. So do you think your sphere would love to know where are the nearest pumpkin farms around you that have some cool stuff that they haven't maybe known to go to? Some that they, never heard of, and just having a list for them. It's like, hey, don't forget to like, let me know if you checked it out. Maybe I haven't been to it, and tag me in the pictures, or, let me know, or give them a phone call and be like, hey, did you go to any of the other pumpkin farms that I sent you? Or if you go, just tag a couple of the people and say, hey, we are currently trying out one of those from the mailer and really loving it. It's really the value piece, right? You want to be valuable to them and make sure that you are not just sending them like, I've done it again, another house sold. It's like, okay, that's great, but be more than just a key, right? Be more to them.
So if you had a question to reduce the cost for sphere mailing, what's the best service to use?
There's no best way to reduce the cost of sphere mailing. It's a targeted list. If your customer should be worth a certain amount of money to you. So if you look at 70 cents an address, the times 12, right? Who's good at math?
Calculate. I have a calculator.
Where's the math person?
12 times 70 cents, $8.40.
There you go. So we have $8.40 to spend on your household a year. Now, I don't know. For me, that is definitely worth the investment. I'm okay spending that on my past clients, just in mailings. Now we do add an event in now. It's going to be the first year because, Corona, and the events we had before were okay too. I mean, we've done events in the past, mainly outdoor though, so we didn't need to worry about a venue. This year, we're going to invite our past clients to a bowling event. So we're going to see how that's going to go, right? So I'm going to spend a little bit more money on them. But again, it's leveraging vendor partners. So in that one, I actually ended up making an amazing connection with a financial advisor because he has very tight advertisement restrictions. He's like, well, how can I get in front of your clients? I'm like, well, let's do an event. And he can just do what he does there and talk to people. But because his marketing budget is fairly large and untapped by most of the people working in his office, he's like, oh, I can probably cover the entire venue. And I'm like, done, venue free, right? I'm like, yes. So like one of my strengths just in general is really to make sure I leverage as much as possible around me. There's always like symbiotic relationships that you guys can tap into. I mean, you're a small business and there's a lot of other small businesses out there that just want to connect and make sure that can work. I mean, Lisa, that's kind of what this is. Mm-hmm. You're a small business, right? I'm a small business. So it's just, we are helping out each other based on, she needs the content, she wants to provide the value to you. And I love sharing and impacting more people with the message of it works and it can really give you, a freedom formula based on mailers. Yeah. So it's a win-win. And you need to figure out how to create that win-win, not just in your business to business, but in your business to client relationship.
Yep. Awesome. That was awesome. You're great. Isn't she great?
You get me going on good topics. See, and that's the other thing. Like if somebody talks to me about things I don't want to talk about.
I know. Check out. But talk about real estate.
I know, right?
So one thing I was going to say, Sophia, that I found with mailing was if you are going to do any sort of postage yourself, like that you have to mail out, I print my postage off of either stamps.com or you could print it off of PayPal. You can actually print postage off of there too at home. And it saves, so when I'm mailing larger, like little bubble mailers or whatever, I actually print the postage at home and it'll save me up to like $1 to $1.50 per package when I do that. So anyway, I can give you more info on that, but don't give me props for that when it was my assistant. She's like, this is what you do. And I'm like, great, do it. Because I didn't know that. I didn't know you could do that. So anyway, so if you're going to mail something that's larger than just a regular postcard, you can print it at home. And that makes it easy to just go drop them all off at the post office instead of standing in line at the post office for mailing.
And check with your office. I mean, your office. So that's what I do typically. If I have to overnight something. And I know it's probably mainly used for client stuff, should be used for client stuff, right? But if I have to overnight something, if I bring it to the post office, it's going to be a lot more expensive as if I bring it to the front of my office and say, can you guys mail it? They go into the system because they have accounts set up with, UPS and whatever. And I just give them my credit card and they just bill it to me, but they send it over the office address, which reduces that cost so much, which is awesome. So make sure you ask your admins, is there a way for me to give you some to mail at our office discount rate? Because the office does typically have a discount rate.
Yeah, so options. And when you get into, you guys, when you get into Elevate and our set schedule and your free lead system, you can actually get free targeted leads in there. So you could use the targeted leads for mailing areas that's free. So you don't have to pay for the targeted areas. So you could do that too. One more question from Sophia. How do you come up with the ideas to put on the card?
Inspiration is everywhere, right? I mean, it really is. But the simpler, typically, the better. A lot of the mailers that go out follow a similar structure, but I actually just ordered a bunch of books the other day, and there was one in there that I thought was like genius, just from a graphic perspective. So I'm going to try it on a mailer, and a lot of it is trial and error. Like, there is some of it where they tell you to do certain things, right? Like Geico is like my favorite example. How many of you know what animal the Geico commercial is, right? It's just there, and it's like you look at it and immediately you recognize it. So you could definitely, if you're like, supporting an animal shelter, for example, I have somebody that's like every house he sells, he puts a part of his commission towards an animal shelter. So I would have a giant like dog probably somewhere hidden on my mailer every single time, because every time they see that dog, they would start associating that with that person, right? So animals can be huge. Colors, it's really less on what's on there. If you think about the mailers, you have two sides. The first one is really where you want to capture that attention. This is not where your message goes. This is not where anything important goes. This is really just for them to pick it up and be like, oh, what's this? Right? That grabs their attention. It's kind of like you scroll through your Facebook feed. And that's sometimes where I get my inspiration from. You scroll through it and you start seeing like, blah, blah, blah. Ooh, what's this? And pay attention to the, ooh, what's this? Because something is in there that just stopped you, and figure out what it is.
Awesome. And I think what I really like too about Janine's like tactics is that you are providing some sort of value always with your mailing too. I mean, you're always looking, and so if you wonder like, what should I put on the postcard, think to yourself, is that like, am I providing value? Because otherwise you're just another piece of mail, right? So you've always got to provide some sort of good information or value or something. Otherwise you're just, blah. Like, why? I wouldn't read it. Thanks, I don't need my teeth cleaned again. Like, throw that one away, right? It's the same thing over and over again. So anyway, awesome. Thank you so much for sharing with us today. I know that if you guys want to get the book, I got mine off Amazon. So
yep, Amazon Prime shipping. So that's where it's currently at.
It is Prime shipping, yeah. So you can go ahead and get off Amazon if that's what you guys want to do. Easy, like an easy read. And I do love, you're so systematic. So it's broken down, very easy to understand. It's not cryptic. We don't need the fluff. So, she gets rid of the fluff, and it's really just, here's how to do it. It's so easy to follow. So I appreciate that. You're awesome. And we're grateful that you are here to share your information with us today. So
awesome. Well, thanks again for having me. I'm sorry I'm late, but I'm going to make it up to you and share with all of you how to do the Cloud CMA thing so you guys can get your Cloud CMA lead generation sites up and running. And if you do get a lead today from it, let me know, because
awesome.
That's my impact. That's what I want to do.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, shoot me that in Messenger, and I'll get that, put you guys in the Facebook group. So you hopefully are all in the Boost Facebook group, and I will get it posted in there, so you can go follow that link. So, and I'll put a link to your book as well, so that we have that.
Awesome.
So, all right, you guys. All right, have a really great weekend. And I'll see you guys next week.